I have a recipe for all of you to eat later today. I mean, who needs a Christmas ham anyway? But be warned, this recipe is a doozy, and it will challenge even the most experienced of feline hunters. I present to you the well done steak. Now, I've had so many ideas for this, and I've done a lot of research on this thing right here, honestly. And, you know, some people just make them out of meatballs and use bread for the bone. But to me, that's like a candy, man. I don't like that approach. We need something more impressive, and we need something that's memorable. We aren't some low-rank hunters, after all. So this right here, this is the real well-done steak. It's essentially everything you could have hoped for. Just you wait. You're going to want to make this as soon as you can if you're a fan of bacon, pork, chicken, eggs, pretty much anything. If you're a fan of anything, you're going to want to eat this. It's also kind of hard to make, so let's head over to the kitchen and play with some meat. We're going to need a lot of things for this, including chicken drumsticks, eggs, soy sauce, onion, breadcrumbs, spices such as cumin, paprika, garlic powder, ginger, and nutmeg, about half a pound of pork, bacon, lots of bacon, not really a whole lot of bacon, I just wanted to say that, and some other materials including a large mixing bowl, chopping board, kitchen shears, basting brush, sharp knife, you know, basic kitchen stuff. So the first thing that we need to do is kind of tricky. It's inverting 2 chicken drumsticks. Now, this is really kind of finicky to get right. So, you know, we got to get rid of the skin first. So what I did is I just kind of yanked it off almost, and I used scissors to, you know, loosen the skin a little bit. And I got it all the way down to the thin side of the bone, and I used my kitchen shears again to make several surgical cuts to remove the skin entirely. And then I also used my kitchen shears yet again to pull the meat back towards the thick side of the drumstick, but you don't want to pull it off the bone. It's a little bit tricky to explain, but hopefully seeing it on video will help. And if you decide to try this, you totally should, you'll understand what I mean. There's also a little tiny bone alongside the larger bone that we'll need to remove. Just cut that out with your scissors. We need 2 of these for one well-done steak, so go ahead and repeat this process a second time. So we have 2 inverted drumsticks. So let's take a break from meat and hard-boil an egg. I hard-boiled 2 eggs because I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and also I didn't know if I would mess up the recipe, so kind of a backup plan. What you're seeing is my first attempt here, so that's kind of why. Anyway, I put the eggs in a pot of water, and I boiled it, and then once the water starts boiling, I took the pot off the heat, and I let the eggs sit for about 10 minutes. The idea is that the heat will cook the inside of the egg, but we'll see. Now it's time for the middle meat, the crux of this entire meal. Cut up about 1/4 of an onion, so it's fairly fine. Please don't cut your fingers off. That would contaminate the meal, and it would also hurt, so don't do that. Put the chopped onion in a bowl, add half a teaspoon of salt, a sprinkle of sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of cumin and garlic powder, and nutmeg if you had it, but it's really expensive, so I skipped it. And half a teaspoon of paprika. Stir this up a bit, and then add tablespoons of breadcrumbs and 1 beaten egg. Mix it up. But you may notice that we're missing the meat, which is kind of important. So mix in the ground pork. I didn't measure how much meat I used, but I'm assuming I used about just under 1/2 pound of ground pork. Now, this recipe calls for using your hands, so go ahead and dig in. Make sure everything is coated evenly, as far as you can tell. Just, you know, keep grabbing it. Now, you're probably thinking that peeling the chicken drumsticks was the hardest part of this recipe. Well, not quite. Go preheat your oven to about 350 degrees or 180 degrees Celsius, and lay your bacon out in strips like this on a cutting board. Now, my cutting board wasn't long enough, so I needed to use 2. Just get the biggest one that you have, I guess. And I used 4 regular slices. Make sure there's no gaps in between the slices of bacon. You might want to ever so slightly have them overlap, actually, just to help with the structural integrity of the meal later on. Now, add about half of your meat mixture into the bacon and spread it out. I used a fork. You could use whatever you want, maybe a spatula or something, but just make sure it's spread fairly evenly and out to the edges on the short side. But don't take it all the way up and down the bacon. Leave a couple of inches at the top and the bottom because we need those to roll. Now, don't forget about your hard-boiled eggs, so go get it in the pot that it's sitting in, drain the pot, and then gently peel the egg under cold water. Take your egg back to your meat plate. Now it's time to give your meat some legs, or some drumsticks rather. So assemble them kind of like so, with the bones sticking out. In between the drums, place the hard-boiled egg so it's cradled by the chicken. Now the moment of truth. This is the hard part because it can really turn into a mess, or it could rip, or something else awful could happen. So roll your bacon up from the bottom gently, kind of like you're making a taquito. Bad plan of reference, but just kind of do what I did, and if you mess up, try to salvage what you can and try again. So it's all rolled up, but it's still really fragile. It can break easily. I put this in a buttered casserole dish, and I put it in the oven for 30 minutes. While it was cooking, I made a basting sauce consisting of 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/4 teaspoon of ginger. Very simple, just mix it all together. And then around the 30-minute mark, pull the well-done steak out of the oven and baste it liberally. I also put some freshly ground black pepper on. I put it back in the oven for another 8 minutes or so. I basted it again, and then I put it back in for a final 10 minutes. And once it's done, oh my god, look at this. Look at it. It looks pretty much perfect, and it smells astounding. I couldn't have asked for a better looking meal. This looks fantastic. The recipe I followed for this suggested serving on a lettuce leaf, so that's what I did. The only thing that's missing is a nice Sapporo or an Asahi, some sort of ale to go with my hunting food. Now, I was a bit nervous. I wasn't sure if it would be cooked all the way through, and I didn't know if it would taste that great. Luckily, this thing tastes like heaven. I can only imagine a well-done steak and Monster Hunter tastes this great. I ate the entire thing in one go, even though I already had dinner that night, and the egg complements the meatiness just so well. And then when you finish the egg, that flavor is replaced by the chicken, and that chicken has absorbed all the juice from the bacon and the pork. I told you back in the Arzuros episode that I'm just not really good at cooking, and I'm super clumsy in the kitchen and everything. Well, I feel like I went from a 1-star training hunter to a 3-star low-rank hunter. I really, really suggest you try this because it's just so super good. There was a recipe I followed, as I said before, and I'll link that down in the description. If you do end up making it, make sure you send me a picture of your attempt, either in the Team Taco Discord or on Twitter. This was the last in the 3-part series of Monster Hunter food that I was planning, but maybe in the future we can revisit the series. If you have any suggestions, make sure you let me know. Thanks for watching, everyone. This video is going live on Christmas Day, so I hope you're having or have had an awesome holiday season. Thank you so much for the support in the past year. We went from like 15,000 subscribers to 25,000. You guys are the reason I make these silly videos, and I hope you'll continue to stick around for future content. Please consider sharing this with any of your friends, or even making the recipe itself. I'll see you all again soon. Peace!